overall, do you feel you're the master of your own destiny, that you're in control of your life?
On a scale to 0 to 5, 0 being no, what happens to me is out of my control. 5, I have total control over what happens to me. I'm gonna say
At 4, I think you have a lot of control of what you do, but sometimes you might just be in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah, bar sickness. I think I feel that you're in total control over what happens to yourself. Yeah.
I don't know. What happens, I suppose.
Well, on a scale of 1 to 5, maybe.
Half and half.
Maybe you're 3 or a 4.
I'd say 5. I think a person has control over what's going to happen to them, you know.
Who's going to tell you what to do with your life, especially when you do move out of home? You fend for yourself, so it's eat or be eaten, so you're in complete control of your own life.
No, what happens to me is out of my control, I personally believe.
No, but you worked for your PhD.
What I do is under my control, but what happens is not under my control.
In Ireland, yeah, like obviously there's some countries where the society doesn't actually, like, say, like in the Middle East with women and stuff like that, but for us, there's no one blocking you from going out and get what you want.
Yeah.
Like if you really want something and you get a bump in the road and you just give up, then I personally think you've never wanted that much.
Yeah.
It's how you manage, the bumps in the road that you might meet along the way. Does that make sense?
I don't think there's anything stopping me succeeding that I want to do other than me.
Yeah.
Really. Which is annoying because I don't have anyone else to blame now. So,
True.
I believe in God having a say in what happens in one's life as well. So I have control to an extent, and God has the ultimate control.
As I said, the right mentality. When you have the right mentality, then you really have control and you can do whatever you want.
So many things could happen that throw that out of whack. You could have an absolutely perfect plan for what you're going to do with your life, and you could reach out and know your 50s and nearly everything is perfect, and then I don't know, you're in a horrible car crash and everything changes and you're never going to have that perfect life. That's life. So, yeah. See, that's out of control. Yeah. So, no.
In society today, there's too much violence. Way too much.
No, there's not enough violence.
Yeah, there shouldn't be that much violence.
But then again, less so here than a lot of other parts of the world.
I think in Poland there is a lot, but I think they tend to say less about it in national television, for example.
We see it more rather than there's too much. We just see more of it now with the internet, with videos, with more free speech, stuff like that. We just see more of it.
Like, you see people shot in the States running away, with maybe $10 worth of weed in their pocket. I mean, why is your first option to kill someone? I mean, that's obscene.
Yeah.
Look, this might make me seem like a complete pansy, but I've never thrown a punch and I've never had one thrown at me.
Well, people aren't very nice to each other.
Yeah. Even sometimes you go to town on a Saturday night and you might see lads fighting or something,
Yeah.
I was randomly attacked one night walking home from a pub, minding my own business, and just got punched in the face and then kicked in the face. So I think there is too much violence.
You just really have to turn on the news and have a look at the news. There's somebody dead, someone's being shot every day, someone being stabbed. Like, the stuff that's happening with ISIS it's actually quite terrifying to even think that something like that could happen.
It's actually kind of sad now as well, because none of it catches people's attention anymore because
it's every day.
It's expected, and that's not really the kind of world you don't want to live in.
Any violence is a negative amount of violence, is almost too much violence. The ideal amount of violence is no violence.
There's no point in saying that, oh God, I hope for peace and love. It's never going to happen. There is always going to be something to fight over, whether that be land, whether it be religion, whether it be anything like that.
I think a lot of the times violence is an uneducated reaction to something that can be dealt with words.
What are the 3 issues you worry most about? Getting a job, spending power, the recession?
Immigration, access to housing, the educational system.
Insecurity, the environment, the health system.
Pensions, public debt, nuclear power, tax havens, council estates, none of the above. I suppose I worry about getting a job.
In my line of work, it's quite often contract work, 2-3 years, and then looking for another job. So there's always an issue. And now expecting a baby again, that's probably is one of the biggest worries to have.
Insecurity would be one anyway. I'm very unhappy that I'm very insecure in a lot of things, which again is a really bad thing for a control freak. You want to be in control of those insecurities, but not always, and that's difficult.
Probably would worry about my pension.
Really?
I don't know anything about it. Again, this is another adult problem with my life. I probably don't worry about it that often. But it probably, like, with the aging population and all that, like, who's going to pay for me to have a pension?
Access to housing has been an issue for a long time. And I think it's not been taken seriously as much as it should be.
I worry about, like, in terms of the access to housing, I worry about ever being able to afford to buy a house.
Yeah. Council estates are a good thing, by the way. I live in a council estate. There's nothing wrong with them. I did go to college with a guy who thought everybody that lived in council estates were travellers or people that had been in prison. He got a broken nose.
The health system in Ireland is an absolute shambles. And it is worrying because, you know, if something happens to you, you need a decent healthcare system. You need to not be waiting around on a trolley. Especially if it's something important, and if you can't rely on a good health system for when you need it, then it is incredibly worrying.
There's been a few times when I was sick and, you know, probably should have gone to the doctor to get something, but it's like, am I 50 euro sick or can I wait a little while? And then occasionally some, you know, have 2 or 3 things wrong at the same time. It's like, well, now it's probably, you know, financially viable to go to the doctor now. And I don't think that's the way it should be.
The environment, I guess. Yeah. Because, like, the weather's going mental.
Nuclear power is down there, so I'm going to pick that. Why? Why? It seems way more bad than good can come out of that, so let's go with that. That worries me.
I'd be okay with nuclear power. It seems pretty safe to me. I wouldn't really have a problem with nuclear power. It seems more efficient than most things.
Okay, good to know.
So at the minute, because I'm in process of getting my wife over, immigration is an issue. It's not in my hands, so it could take anything up to 6 months or even longer. I think it's understaffed, maybe.
Immigration is a huge kind of pressing global issue with the migrant crisis. I think it would be a real test to our generation, and I think it could potentially define us. Because we could end up with a situation where we have an influx of people who end up becoming marginalised if the situation isn't handled correctly, if integration doesn't happen. It's very difficult to say how specifically it could be handled, should be handled.
Insecurity worries me, I suppose, but on a personal level more than anything else.
Stop
Or you have to stop
spitting,
spitting
would
on the iPad. That's how insecure I am.
Does it help if I point it out?
Yeah, that makes me feel much more secure.
Let's go on to the next one.
Would you actively participate in a large-scale uprising against the generation in power if it happened in the next few days or months?
No.
No.
I would if I have to, really.
Can't say that I wouldn't.
No.
No, like, I just... No.
That'd be a good reason for it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
It depends what
If they're
the
about
thing
to press
is.
a big red button or something like that, yeah.
Well, what does that red button do?
Kill all diabetics.
I think if those in power were misusing that power or trying to hold on to it for their own ends, then yeah, I could easily, you know.
If they said that they were going to have slaves and they were bringing execution, like, you know, something like that back in, then yeah, maybe, yeah. But it has to be something dramatic.
I'd probably design a poster, or like carry the poster. But I mean, protests and all that kind of stuff, to me, is pointless. Doesn't really get anywhere. It seems to be people have more power in a tweet than they do if 50 people go and stand outside the doll. And that's just the way it feels.
No, I would not actively participate in it. Actively unparticipate in it.
How do you know your system's going to be any better? All of this, it's just, we're in a shit situation. I don't particularly like using power, but we're in a really shit situation, so there's not much more you can do.
I don't know. I wouldn't do anything violent, but I'd probably just be that dilettante, educated twat in the corner, commenting on it, sarcastically making obscure references to Belgian situationism. That sounds like me. Let's be honest. Yeah.